Welcome to Discussion Politics, where we discuss some political topics such as, you know, Abraham Lincoln, all the different civil rights acts that have occurred, including Lyndon B. Johnson, all these different items regarding various specific ways of analyzing historical events. And so basically, there was a lot of different viewpoints in the section which had recently occurred in the various aspects of humanity. Some of those included the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed all the slaves in 1865, I believe it was, when Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation freeing all slaves. And that was such an enormous event that it was such it was almost a Marxist event, which led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. And the history of the Soviet Union goes back centuries. And if you think about the history of the Soviet Union, it used to be the USSR. But however, it changed in 1991, if I recall correctly, when Ronald Reagan signed a deal with Gorbachev, collapsing and dissolving the Soviet Union into what is now currently Russia. And the correlations between Russia and the Civil War back in 1861, 1860s, early to mid 1860s, is astounding when looking at the various correlations and connections between the Soviet Union dissolution versus the Abraham Lincoln ending the Civil War, effectively suspending habeas corpus into oblivion, imprisoning over thousands of people. Then you see the general correlations between those two, because the Soviet Union during the 20th century imprisoned a lot of people too as well. I mean, looking at Stalin, he was a dictator of Russia, the Soviet Union at the time, and that was such a huge, a critical moment in history that Russia became a world power that effectively used authoritarian regimes to suppress citizens, which allowed for many bad acts to occur. And that problem persisted throughout the 20th century. And we had a lot of, bad situations occurring. And so until he got, in 1953, ousted from power during the Korean War, when Harry Truman was involved as well, the president, Harry Truman. And that was such a huge event that it lasted for a long time. Adding on to that, the Abraham Lincoln signing of the Emancipation Proclamation is similar to what we have now with the American Families Plan. So there is some sort of correlation there. And there's going to be even more correlations as time goes on, even within FDR's cabinet. FDR was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who led the country through 4 terms in the World War II. And Joe Biden can't really match that. He's matching the results of FDR, but not the exact replication of the various instances in which FDR made his speeches and created a lot of public persuasion. But the fact about Abraham Lincoln using the power of the government to influence millions of people and save the lives of millions of people is similar to FDR, and which is why FDR is considered the number 2 spot or the number 3 spot, but he's typically behind Lincoln in historian surveys. So that's a note to remember, that Lincoln is above all of them when it comes to looking at various historical surveys. And that's a huge that is in of it itself a huge accomplishment by the administration of the Lincoln administration, because he selected the cabinet himself to facilitate easygoing relationships with Congress and with the executive function. And that's a huge win for the Lincoln administration. Many people aren't talking about it, but that's what it really is. So thank you all for watching. Have a great day.